Natalie and Andrew were a young couple who grew up from the same village and later on moved to the university to pursue their undergraduate degree. The couple could only dream of getting married immediately after they got their first job after graduation. The couple lived together in a small and decent apartment near the university. Their love story was admired by most people who lived around them. During the second year in the university, Natalie became pregnant. This news came as a surprise to Andrew and he was so devastated. This was because Andrew wasn't ready to become a father. He came from a small and humble family which could only meet up with their ends meet. He struggled all alone to pay his expensive school fees and to take care of Natalie and their basic needs. After trying to convince Natalie for weeks, she completely declined for the fear of losing her life during the abortion process. He then decided to keep the pregnancy because of the love that he had for Natalie. After 9 months, they welcomed a very beautiful baby girl in their home. Everything seemed to work so well after the baby arrived for the first 3 months. But on this fateful Sunday evening, the baby developed a very high fever that persisted for 3 days. She was then rushed to the hospital immediately for urgent medical attention. While in the hospital, several tests were carried out. It was realized that the baby had developed a strange illness and needed an urgent surgery. This was to cost at least 15,000 US dollars. The cost of the surgery was so expensive that it left Andrew in total confusion. He tried to raise some money from his family and friends, but to no avail. No one was able to help him with the money. After contemplating on what to do for hours, Andrew decides and takes up the courage to go to the doctor to hand him over the baby. Andrew takes the baby home and in anger and frustration, he forces Natalie to dump the baby in the trash. Natalie refuses and begins to cry. Andrew wakes up in anger and picks her up from the chair. He forced her to get the baby and took her outside. There, he forces Natalie to throw away the baby inside the trash. After the couple returned home, Natalie decided she needed a break away from everything that had happened, but it was the last time that Andrew ever saw her. Andrew continues with his studies and later gets a job as an engineer in a construction firm. He decides to move on with his life and later meets a woman named Anna. They stayed together in a relationship for 6 months and decided to get married. After 2 years of being in the marriage with Anna, she could not bear a child. Society called her all sorts of names and felt she was the cause of her own barrenness. The couple then decides to pay a visit to the doctor to see what was actually going on. After their visit to the doctor, the report showed that Andrew could no longer father a child. This was due to an accident that he had while working on the construction site. Anna decides to file for divorce. She did not want to spend her entire life with a man who could not give her children. Meanwhile, Andrew was left in deep regret. He remembered the day he threw away his own baby into the trash. After 3 years of Andrew's divorce with Anna, he stumbles upon Natalie with a sweet little girl. He noticed there was a birthmark on the girl's hand, exactly like the one their baby girl had in which they had thrown. Natalie did not hesitate but to tell him the story of what really happened after they dumped their baby in the trash. After they dumped their baby that night, Natalie took the back door and rescued the baby. She took the baby and handed over to her neighbor. Then, after breaking up with Andrew, she moved back to her neighbor's place and collected the baby and moved straight to her hometown. Upon her arrival in her hometown, there was a rich millionaire who stumbled upon her and couldn't help but stare at her beautiful face. He quickly gathered the courage to talk to Natalie, who was carrying a cute little baby girl in her arms. Upon hearing the story of what had really happened to the child, he quickly rushed with her to the hospital for urgent medical attention. The baby became healthy again and the millionaire adopted the child. He also later on got married to Natalie. Andrew, after hearing that the baby Natalie was holding in her arms was his, he threatened to claim ownership of the child. But Natalie threatened to put him behind bars for attempting to murder his own little girl. Andrew had no choice but to stay away from them since he didn't want to go to prison.